Most of the companies in the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq and the Dow Jones, they've now reported their earnings, which basically means you've got the numbers, you've got the figures, and we've gone into August. And August, generally speaking, is a quiet month of the year. And that's because a lot of the big banks, investors, traders, and whatnot, they go on their holidays and they come away from sort of the market. So the liquidity value and the liquidity and the volume tends to be low. So there's nothing to say that going through August we could get some pullbacks, some potential opportunities to buy some, good shares. In this video, I'm going to be looking at Kodal, Square, Tesla, the pound, because I think there's actually potentially a trade there. I don't normally do that type of stuff, but I could potentially see something emerging. Amazon, I'm going to look at the Dow, AMD, which I've been tracking now for the last couple of months, and the Nasdaq. It's the 3rd of August. You're watching Mini Pip. My name's Tyrone. Jumping straight into the video, we'll look at Kodal Minerals first. Now, I've tracked this stock for quite a few years, actually, to be fair, and the pandemic has seen this just boom. And originally, my first post on Mini Pip, before we had the YouTube, and just as the Instagram had started, was around sort of April, May of last year, where the stock was just 4p, and we're now trading up, or we did trade at one point at 48p. So that is a brilliant sort of investment trade, as a trade that you couldn't really get any better than that. And it's been such a great run, and every time it's spiked, it's been a great opportunity to sort of get out and buy when it comes back down. It spikes again, it comes back down, it spikes again, it comes back down. And right now I think that we're in that stage of where it sort of ticks lower, and hopefully what I would look for is a rally high towards the 50 and then potentially towards the 60 level, which is the sort of February 2017 highs. So it'll be quite interesting to see what this does. In terms of what we're looking at now though, and what we have, current price is around 36p, it's down 3.9% today. We've got support at around that 36p here, which is the 50 period moving average, and a break below there sees us towards 29p. There isn't really a trend line going up. Well, there is, but it's bringing it down all the way to 15p somewhere down here, which is a bit low. I don't think that that's going to happen now, and I think that any opportunity to buying at these prices has happened. So if you're in, down below here, or if you're hoping that it comes below here, you're probably holding your breath, because it's probably not going to get there. In terms of going forward, you want to be looking for this sort of 100 period moving average around 29p. If we break below there, then yeah, we could go towards that, but I don't know if that's going to happen. The reason being is, given what they do, which is lithium mining, and given how electrical vehicles are on the rise, it makes sense to see this and see demand for what they do continue higher. So generally speaking, what I would be looking for in this is a pullback towards that 100 period moving average here, and then towards 60p. So something like this, and then eventually we go towards those highs at around 60. If we break 60, then we go to a pound, should I say, because this is a British share. So if it goes towards £1, now we may get there, but it is going to take a long time before we do. Could take another 6 to 9 months, which still represents, its current price. It's a 200% sort of gain, which is great. But I think that there's potential to buy in a bit lower. So I'm looking to buy in at around this moving average here, and if we do break lower, I would just add to the position. It is a penny stock, and that's what you have to remember. So there is a good possibility that one day this company could go bust. It could even go bust tomorrow. Penny stocks are risky stocks. Anybody that's watched The Wolf of Wall Street, it's what John Belford sold, so you should know that these are risky things. It's similar to another one that I was looking at, which is Canberra Energy. Similar in the ways that they work. Well, we get these huge spikes, and if you're trading these and you catch one of these spikes, it can be, or it could be, absolutely brilliant. But again, if you're investing into these type of companies, Canberra, Kodal, and penny stocks, then it has to be money that you can afford to lose as such, because there's a very good possibility that these could just be worth nothing at some point. It could very much go down to 3p tomorrow. That's how they work. So overall, though, I am a buyer of this. I would be buying it around 28, 29p. If we break below that and go to the trend line, I'll be buying at 16, 15p as well, just adding to the position, which would bring my average down to about 20p, which is a good buy in, especially if we get to a pound. It's a brilliant return, 500%. But it's going to take a bit of time to do that. Now, Square is something that I posted a couple of weeks back. I think it was about 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks ago, and I thought that there'd be a bit more of a pullback, but I did eventually see a breakout coming. That didn't happen. We did get that slight decline, but then we just rallied, and yesterday I think we jumped 10% because I believe Square has just bought out an Australian sort of buy now pay later company. I haven't quite looked into it yet because all I'm looking at is the chart. Given that we have struggled at that resistance, we could get a pullback maybe towards the 250, so $250 level. If we do, that probably would be a nice opportunity to go long. So you see this sort of trend line that's coming here. There's like a trend line in place there. I'll do that a bit better in a second. And then we get that final breakout towards the 300 level and then 325. It does make sense to see this stock up there. And I think someone was saying that a lot of Square's revenue, or half of the revenue, comes from Bitcoin transactions, which is interesting as well. But overall, I do think this is a good stock. I'd be looking for a pullback, but just on the trend line point of view, unless we sort of break this trend line, which is now developing here at sort of 239, 240, unless we break below this large candlestick, should we say, would we be going towards that $200 level? It makes sense to see it maybe sort of slowly go through here through August while the volume is low, and then see that push high towards 300 and 325. Tesla is another one, and I did again post about Tesla. Generically speaking, I'm a buyer of Tesla. We've got a floor in the market which is about $550. We got this brilliant breakout after the earnings. So the day of the earnings, we saw that decline of 4%. And then, over the space of the next couple of days, we've done this brilliant rally from sort of 640 towards sort of 720. Now we've broken out, it would make sense, and it is, sort of confident to say this, but you could definitely see $1,000 this year. There's nothing to say that can't happen given what it did last year and what it's done in the past. We're going to have a couple of tough resistances. 800 is your first one. Break above 800 takes you towards those highs around 900. Break above 900 sees us towards 1,000, and I do think at some point we will get there. And I did write that in the post a couple of weeks back. So pull back towards the trend line, maybe towards 800, a bit more of a tough, acts as a resistance, and then towards 1,000. This breakout is a very, very, very good sign, and it does signal that there are buyers in this market and people are still bullish on Tesla. I know that Michael Burry, which is a big investor, and he's got these puts and shorts and whatever, but just because he's short, it doesn't mean that he's right. And I wouldn't really want to be a seller of Tesla at this current moment in time. That there is a classic example of we continue higher, and it does make sense to see that. So overall, it's a good stock, unless we break this floor here at sort of 560. Would I be concerned? And you've even got support down to 640. So 640, a break below there maybe goes towards 550. A break below there, then we go into 380. But I just don't see that happening anytime soon. What I see is a small pullback and then a continuation higher towards $1,000 potentially this year. Though that is a bit sort of, it's an extended target. You want to sort of be aiming for 800, between 8 and 900 for this year. And if we do good and sales are better in Q3 and we see brilliant earnings in Q3, then we could continue high to that 1,000. Looking at the pound, this is a forex pair. Now I don't normally do this, but given that the dollar and the Fed was dovish on there, which basically means that they want to sort of keep interest rates where they are. They don't want to sort of mess with the economy right now. This is a really good breakout. It's only happened in the last 4 hours, and I think that this could be a signal to a lot higher. We have support below, and the thing is with the dollar is if the dollar gets stronger, it doesn't really help anything, to be fair. stronger pound is weaker it weakens the FTSE, but given that the FTSE at the moment it's shot higher towards 7,100, and this is also going up at the same time. Tells me there's a lot of strength in the UK economy. But given this, this 4 hourly candlestick that is developing as we speak, I'll be looking towards 143 in the next sort of week or two. Up here, because I'll put the dollar on in a second, but what I'd probably want to see is towards this 140 level. We struggle at 140, we come back to sort of that 139.50, and then over the space of the course of the month we head towards that 140, sort of 142.50 highs up there. There is no reason for that to not happen, and the only reason that would stop that is the US dollar. And the thing is, the Federal Reserve, they're not speaking now for quite some time. It's going to be a couple of months now. I think it's sort of October's the next meeting, and they're not doing anything till November. And as we can see on the dollar, on the 4 hour basket, it would make sense to see this fall. This looks like it's going to fall, which is also a bullish case for gold as well. We do have some support for the dollar down at 91.68, so we could get this fall here, and then we could get a bounce, which just sort of coincide with this. We get to 140, which sees the dollar go down to 91.60 level, and then we see a bounce in the dollar, which sees this come down, but then we continue higher in the pound. Overall, I think this looks like a potentially good trade towards that 142.50, 143 level. Unless this trend line breaks and the moving averages break, would I consider selling or putting a stop loss in place? Or if your stop loss was going to be probably somewhere in the region around 138 to sort of that 137 region here, which covers you if we do have that small decline, or we do break out that trend line, it still gives you that upward momentum. If we do if it's a false break below, shall we say. But overall, this looks quite good. It's not a trade idea as such, but I'm confident on this one, and I think it's something I'm probably going to look at doing. I'm going to watch this market quite carefully. I don't normally do this type of stuff. We've got MACD turning positive. You can see that we've had quite negative MACD over the last sort of couple of hours, and we're starting to turn slightly positive. And as you can see, last time we turned positive was here, and we got this rally from 137 all the way up to just short of 140, and that's when we turned MACD on positive. And again, it's the same situation. We turned positive around there, 138. We saw a rally up to 139. I see that developing now. RSI is reading 59, so we're not overbought either, and it makes sense to see this push higher. Amazon is another one. So obviously they had terrible earnings, and I was caught out on the Nasdaq on this one. Not actually Amazon itself, but I saw the Nasdaq drop, and I was long, and it got me. I'm still in the Nasdaq anyways to go long, and we'll look at that in a second. But we are on this support line, and it makes sense potentially to see this sort of recover over the space of maybe the next third quarter, maybe to the highs. 4,000 is going to be tough, because the guidance going forward, I think I did a video previously on it, guidance going forward is suggesting that sales are going to be less. If sales are less, then Amazon is probably going to consolidate in this area, or potentially even go down further towards the floor, which is around 3,000. Unless this $3,000 level is broken, would I even consider selling it? But I wouldn't even sell Amazon. That is just a death trap. But overall, it's a buy market, and I see the all-time highs, shall we say, up here being hit sometime soon, but maybe in the next quarter, which is a nice 5, 6, 7% rally up to there, and maybe 10% to 15% if we get towards those highs. It isn't going to be easy, and it's a slow moving stock because of how big it is. But overall, provided this trend line support holds, we should continue higher, and if we do break it, 3,000 is the floor. But again, I wouldn't want to be a seller. The Dow Jones is being a bit boring, really. It's not providing any opportunity apart from this sideways action, which, given that we're in August and the volume is low, there's a good possibility that we could see this continue. And the thing being here, though, is that we have consolidated in the Dow since around May now, or you could even make the argument that we've consolidated since April. We've been in this constant 34 to 35,000 range, and at some point we do need to get that breakout. So you can see we've been sat in this sort of range here, and to see us eventually break out. Now, in terms of looking at what the chart as such, we've got the trend line, which dates back even further than this. To be fair, it does go further back. Unless we sort of break 34,000 and we close below there, something like this, would I consider selling this? And again, I don't want to be selling US index funds. It's not something I do. It's dangerous stuff because they just go up, and that's been the case for the last 13 years, even the last 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years since this has been established. It just goes up. So it makes sense to be buying on falls or buying on dips. Current level, if you're in now or you're buying now, you might have to have a very, very, flexible position where your stop loss is down in the region of 33 or 32,000. Because if we do fall in August, we could fall quite a lot. But overall, if we do hold this support, 36,000 would be your target, which is a nice 4 or 5% gain from its current level. And if you're trading this, that is a very, very good gain, depending on the position size that you do. Support is down below at this trend line. Break below there sees us towards 33,800 and then 33,000, which is the real floor here. Break below 33,000 could see us go a lot further down, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. AMD is a stock again that I've tracked. I've been tracking it since months ago, around May, and I actually posted this at $77 a share. We're now up at 108. It's a brilliant rally to see. The only issue here is the RSI. RSI is reading 82, or just short of 82. Or it's reading up those levels. The last time we saw these levels was, sort of August last year, so and we continued higher, to be fair. We did even continue higher, and we could definitely get that. But I think it makes sense just to see that slight pullback. I'm not a seller in this, and I'm not suggesting shorting it at all, but a pullback would definitely provide another opportunity to go long or an opportunity to buy more of the stock. So maybe a pullback towards the highs and then a continuation test towards 120. Given its current level, 120 is the target. If we break below 120, then you'd be aiming for sort of 150. If we break that, then we do have this trend line support, so we could continue further towards 95. And realistically, unless this trend line support breaks here, this is a very good stock to buy. It is up there. And I did a comparison against NVIDIA, and if we're comparing them both, AMD, well, pre-rally was a better value stock, because if you compared them in terms of what they do, if AMD got up to NVIDIA's level, it should be worth a lot more than what it is. But given the rally, maybe not so much now. It would make sense though, and I would like to see this pull back towards the $100 level, or even 105 to see up to 120. So overall, very good stock, and it makes sense to see it go higher. This will actually as well, given all that, with AMD and Amazon and Tesla looking like they're going to go higher, they are all constitutions of the NASDAQ, and it would make sense to see this NASDAQ continue higher. Now, one of the issues here is that we have had a negative MACD since sort of 26th of July, since we topped out, which is quite interesting. And we could see a pullback towards the 14,800 level, so sort of around here. If we zoom in a bit more, so maybe another pullback towards the moving average at around 14,900, should I say, sorry. A break below there, we have support at 14.8, and if we do break there, we're going down towards 14,588, and then the trend line, which sits at about 14,200. 14,000 is the floor. Break below 14,000 would be quite bad. I don't think that will happen, but it is possible. You can see, we had this consolidation, and the worry now is that we potentially get consolidation here, like we did between February and May. We got this great rally from sort of 13,000 up to 15,000. But again, what I'm looking for, very simply, pullback towards, or not pullback, should we say, a small pullback towards that sort of 49, and then we go towards 15,500 and then 16,000. So either we're going to go like this, and then potentially pull back and go higher, or we're going to go something like this, where we see value hunters come back in and we go higher. I can't tell which way that's going to go. We do have a negative MACD, and RSI does read 61, which, generally speaking, if we look, that is actually about, you could say that given its current level, it would make sense to see this go higher. If you see a higher RSI, would mean that this would need to go higher, but you just have to see how it develops over the coming week or two to see if this goes higher. But overall, I wouldn't be a seller of this, and if we do fall, you just simply add to the position, or I would add to the position, to then continue higher towards the ultimate goal of 16k. I think that we will get another double second half figure, so you could see this going up another 10% from its current level over the space of between now and Christmas, because it makes sense to see that. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it's only ever had a double digit first half 27 times, and of that 27, 23 have been following double digits from that. So statistically speaking, another double digit next half would be very possible. But apart from these markets, generally speaking, everything's looking good. Again, on the website, I'll be keeping you up to date on these. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel. Thanks for watching.